Hi everyone, today I will be reading the story of The Reluctant Dragon. Footprints in the snow have been unfailing provokers of sentiment, ever since snow was first a white wonder in this drab colored world of ours. In a poetry book presented to one of us by an aunt, there was a poem by Wordsworth, in which they stood out strongly, with a picture all to themselves too, but we didn't think very highly either of the poem or the sentiment. Footprints in the sand were quite another matter, and we grasped Krusco's attitude of mind much more easily than Wordsworth. Excitement and mystery, curiosity and suspense. These were the these were the only sentiments that tracks, whether in a sand or snow, were able to arouse in us. We had awakened early that winter morning, puzzled at first by the added light that filled the room. Then, when the truth at last fully dawned on us, dawned. Then, when the truth at last fully dawned on us, and we knew that snowballing was no longer a wistful dream, but a solid certainty waiting for us outside, it was a mere brute fight for the necessary clothes, and the lacing of boots seemed a clumsy invention, and the buttoning of coat an unduly tedious form of fastening, with all that snow going to waste of our very door. When dinner time came, we had to be dragged by when dinner time came, we had to be dragged in by scruff of our necks. The short armistice over the combat was resumed, but presently Charlotte and I, a little weary of contests and a missiles that ran shudderingly down inside one's clothes, forsook the trampled battlefield of the lawn and went exploring the blank virgin spaces of the white world that lay beyond. It stretched away unbroken on every of us, this mysterious soft of garment, this mysterious soft garment under which our familiar world had so suddenly hidden itself. Faint imprints show where a casual bird had alighted, but of other traffic there was next to no sign, which made these strange tracks of all more puzzling. We came across them first at the corner of shrubbery, and pored over them long, our hands on our knees, experienced trappers that we knew ourselves to be. It was annoying to be brought up suddenly by a beast we could not at once identify. Don't you know, said Charlotte, rather scornfully, thought you knew all the beasts that ever was. This put me on my mettle. This put me on my mettle, and I hastily rattled off a string of animal names embracing both an Arctic and the tropic zones, but without much real confidence. No, said Charlotte, and on consideration, they won't any of them quite do. Seems like something lizardy. Did you say iguanodon? Might be that, props. But that's not British, and we want a real British beast. I think it's a dragon. Tisn't, tisn't, tisn't it half big enough? Isn't not half big enough? I objected. Well, all dragons must be small to begin with, said Charlotte. Like everything else. Perhaps this is a little dragon who's got lost. A little dragon would be rather nice to have. He might scratch and spit, but he couldn't do anything really. Let's track him down. So we set off into a wide snow-clad world, hand in hand, our hearts big with explanation. Our hearts big our hearts big with explanation, our hearts big with expectation, complacently confident that by a few smudgy traces in the snow we were in a fair way to capture a half-grown specimen of a fabulous beast. We ran the monster across the paddock, and along the hedge of the next field, and then he took the road like any tame, civilized taxpayer. Here his tracks became blended with any lost among more ordinary footprints. But imagination and a fixed idea will do a great deal. And we were sure we knew the direction a dragon would naturally take. The traces, too, kept reappearing at intervals, at least Charlotte maintained they did. And as it was her dragon, I left the following of the slot to her and trotted along peacefully, feeling that it was an expedition anyhow and something was sure to come out of it. Anyhow, and something was sure to come out of it. Anyhow, and something was sure to come out of it. Anyhow, and something was sure to come out of it. Charlotte took his Charlotte took me across another field or two, and through the copse, and into a fresh road, and I began to feel sure it was only confounded pride that made her go on pretending to see dragon tracks instead of owning she was entirely at fault. Like a reasonable person, at last she dragged me excitedly through a gap in a hedge of an obviously private character. The waste, open world of field and hedgerow disappeared, and we found ourselves in a garden, well kept, secluded, most undragon hunted in appearance. Once inside, I knew where we were. This was the garden of my friend, the circus man, though I had never approached it before by a lawless gulp. From this unfamiliar side, and here was the circus man himself, placidly smoking a pipe as he strolled up and down the walks. And here was the circus man himself, placidly smoking a pipe as he strolled up and down the walks. I stepped up to him and asked him politely, as if I had lately seen a beast. May I inquire, he said, with all civility, what particular sort of beast you may happen to be looking for? It's a lizardy sort of beast, I explained. Charlotte says it's a dragon, but she doesn't really know much about beasts. The circus man looked around about him slowly. I don't think, he said, that I've been seeing a dragon in these parts recently, but if I come across one, I'll know it belongs to you, and I'll have him taken around to you at once. Thank you very much, said Charlotte, but don't trouble about it, please. Cause props, it isn't a dragon after all. Only I thought I saw his little footprints in the snow, and he followed him up, and they seem to be lead right in here, but maybe it's all a mistake, and thank you all the same. Oh, no trouble at all, said the circus man cheerfully. I should be the only too pleased, but of course, as you say, it may be a mistake, and it's getting dark, and he seems to have got away for the present, whatever it is. You'd better come in and have some tea. I'm quite alone, and we'll make a roaring fire. And I've got the biggest book of beasts you ever saw. It's got every beast in the world, and all of them colored, and we'll try to find your beast in it. We're always ready for a tea of any time, and especially when combined with beast, there was a marmalade too, and apricot jam, brought in expressly for us. And afterwards, the beast book was spread out, and as the man had truly said, it contained every sort of a beast had ever seen in the world. The striking of 6 o'clock set the more prudent Charlotte, nudging me, and we recalled ourselves with an effort from Beastland, and reluctantly stood up to go. Here, I'm coming along with you, said the circus man. I want another pipe, and a walk do me good, and walk I'll do me good. You need to talk to me unless you like. Our spirits rose to their wonted level again. Our spirits rose to their wonted level again. The way had seemed so long, the outside world so dark and eerie. After the bright warm room and the highly colored beast book, but a walk with a real man. Why, that was a treat itself. Why, that was a treat in himself. Why, that was a treat in himself. We set off briskly. The man in the middle, I looked up at him and wondered whether I should ever live to smoke a big pipe with that careless sort of majesty. But Charlotte, whose young mind was not set of tobacco as a possible goal, made herself heard from the other side. Now then, she said, tell us a story, please, won't you? The man sighed heavily and looked about him. I knew it, he groaned. I knew I should have to tell a story. Oh, why did I leave my pleasant fireside? Well, I will tell you a story, only let me think a minute. Only let me think a minute. Only let me think a minute. So he thought a minute, and then he told us this story. Long ago, might have been hundreds of years ago, in a cottage halfway between this village and yonder, shoulder of the downs up there, a shepherd lived with his wife and their little son. Now the shepherd spent his days, and at certain times of the year, his nights too, Up on up on the wide ocean bosom of the downs, with only the sun and the stars and the ship for company, and the friendly chattering world of men and women far out of sight and hearing,